Revealed. How a poor maid transformed the millionaire's 3-year-old twins in an incredible way. Clara wiped the sweat from her brow as she stood in front of the grand Sinclair mansion, the massive gates closing behind her. At 28, she felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, juggling multiple jobs to support her ailing mother back home. Yet, today would be the day she started her new role as a nanny for twins, Emily and Jake. The twins were born into a world of privilege, living in a gilded cage surrounded by opulence. Clara took a deep breath, her heart pounding. She was determined to show these children that love and kindness could impact their lives far more than any luxury could. On her first day, Clara walked into the brightly decorated nursery, filled with expensive toys that sparkled under the light. The twins were playing quietly, each engrossed in their worlds. A strange tension filled the air. As she reached out to them with a warm smile, Clara felt a flicker of hesitation from the children, their innocent eyes filled with uncertainty. But Clara's heart swelled with hope. "Hi there. I'm Clara. Want to go on an adventure today?" The twins looked at each other, and for the first time, Clara saw a glimmer of excitement accompany their confusion. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." In time, Clara managed to forge a bond with Emily and Jake, taking them on trips to the local park. With each visit, Clara shared stories filled with imagination, kindness, and the importance of creativity. She watched as the twins' eyes widened with wonder at the fallen leaves, and their laughter resonated through the air like music. Every day, she saw their walls crack, replaced with genuine smiles, but she knew the Sinclair family's obsession with their elite status was ever present. Their preferred world thrived on lavish parties and high society, but Clara felt drawn to the heart of the people. The rhythm of neighbors gathering, sharing laughter, and connecting over much simpler joys. Then came the neighborhood crisis news that the Veterans Center could close. Clara's heart sank. Anger boiled inside her. She couldn't let this happen. They needed a champion. She looked at the twins, her eyes filled with determination. "You can help," she said. "Let us show them that we care." Emily and Jake nodded, their innocence propelling them forward. Together, they began crafting colorful flyers, and Clara led the charge to organize a fundraiser. The pressure mounted, yet with unyielding hope. She saw how they stirred compassion and connected with people outside their gated haven. The tension with the Sinclair parents grew as Clara drifted further from the sparkle of their elite bubble. A confrontation loomed, the stakes rising. And when Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair discovered their children mingling with the community, sharing laughter and stories, they exploded in a rage Clara never expected. Heart racing, she stood her ground, her voice strong and unwavering. Every child deserves to experience love beyond riches. They deserve to know the struggles of those around them. Her words injected a fierceness that echoed through the air, shaking the foundations of the estate. In that charged moment, Clara knew she was fighting not just for Emily and Jake, but for a vision of love that could break barriers. Would the Sinclairs risk their social standing to embrace the true values their children desperately needed? All eyes were on her, a poor maid standing up to millionaires, leaving the question hanging. Could compassion dismantle the walls of privilege, or would pride prevail? Clara's heart raced as her words hung in the air, the tension thick enough to cut with a knife. She could feel Emily and Jake's small hands tighten around hers. The silence felt deafening, with the echo of her own voice ringing in her ears. Mr. Sinclair's face turned from shock to fury, his eyes blazing with disbelief. "You dare speak to us like that?" he thundered, his voice resonating deep within the marble walls. Clara took a step forward, emboldened despite the fear that gripped her. "I might be just a maid, but your children deserve to learn about the world beyond these gates. They shouldn't grow up thinking that privilege is everything." Mrs. Sinclair's sharp intake of breath filled the room. "How dare you presume to teach my children? You have no idea what they need." Her voice oozed with disdain, But Clara noticed the flicker of doubt that crossed her face for just a moment. I know they need to feel love, kindness, and community, Clara pressed on, her tone steady despite the internal tremor. They need to know that happiness doesn't come from money, but from connection. The twins were watching, their big eyes reflecting both fear and admiration for this brave woman who stood up against their parents. Clara looked at them, her own heart swelling with the hope of change. We can make a difference together. This fundraiser can help the veterans and show everyone, including your parents, the beauty in offering help to others. A moment passed, thick and heavy, before Mr. Sinclair finally spoke again, his voice low and dangerous. You may have gained a momentary sympathy with my children, but this ends now. You are treading on thin ice, Clara. Disobedience will not be tolerated in my household. Feeling the weight of defeat creeping in, Clara fought back tears. This was bigger than her job. It was about giving the twins a chance to choose love over wealth. But she couldn't do it alone. She needed allies, people willing to see beyond the glitz and glamour. The following day, Clara gathered her courage. With the help of others in the neighborhood, including the local cafe owner who had given her a sympathetic nod, they organized a small meeting at the Veterans Center. Inviting Emily and Jake, she hoped they would rally people together. Everyone deserves a place to belong, just like the people we're helping tonight, she told the twins, her eyes determined as Clara looked around the gathering, a sense of nervous excitement filled her. The community had come. Even some of her neighbors from the mansion's upscale side were present, murmuring amongst themselves about the cause. Clara felt a spark of hope that maybe, just maybe, they could bridge the gap between privilege and compassion. When the twins arrived, Clara knelt beside them, guiding them to help serve snacks. What matters is that we're here together, she whispered. People like us need to lift each other up. Emily beamed, starting her small tasks with enthusiasm. While Jake shyly offered lemonade to their new friends, it was a whirlwind of laughter, stories, and a newfound sense of community, and Clara's heart swelled with joy. Yet deep down she dreaded how the Sinclair family would react once they heard about the gathering. As it turned dark, Clara looked at the twins, filled with pride as they joined the other children, holding hands and dancing. But a charge of apprehension coursed through her veins. She knew there would be consequences. Could their small act of kindness change the hearts of Mr. and Mrs. Sinclair? Or would they remain locked in their walls of wealth, suffocating in their own pride? As Clara watched the children twirling under the soft glow of fairy lights, she realized that the battle for true connection had only just begun. Clara barely slept that night, her mind churning with thoughts of what might happen next. The laughter and joy from the gathering still echoed in her ears, but so did Mr. Sinclair's menacing words. The next morning, as she prepared breakfast for the twins, she could feel the tension in the house. It was palpable, and she feared that the aftermath of the previous day would hit harder than she could imagine. Clara? Emily's sweet voice broke through her thoughts. Clara looked up to see the twins standing by the kitchen table. Their cheeks were still flushed from sleep, and they both wore innocent expressions that melted her heart. Yes, my dears? Clara replied with a warm smile, trying to hide her unease. Can we have a picnic today? Jake asked, his big eyes shining with excitement. We can share sandwiches with everyone at the park. Clara's heart ached at their enthusiasm. That sounds wonderful, she said, masking her worries. Let us all have fun together. But a dark shadow of doubt lingered. Would Mr. Sinclair allow them to go? Would they face his wrath for daring to experience life outside the mansion? As she packed their sandwiches, Clara could not shake the feeling that they were teetering on the edge of something big. Moments later, the door to the dining room swung open, and Mr. Sinclair stepped in, his expression as cold as ice. We need to talk, Clara, he said, his voice low and firm. Clara felt her heart drop. Uh-oh, Emily whispered to Jake, who looked wide-eyed, clinging to his sister's hand. Now, Mr. Sinclair commanded, dismissing them with a stern wave. Clara took a deep breath and followed him into the study, her apprehension growing. What were you thinking? He roared as soon as the door clicked shut behind her. You have no right to involve my children in your little charity event. You are a maid, Clara, and it's time you started acting like one. His eyes pierced through her, full of contempt. Clara's spirit flickered under his gaze. But sir, she began, her voice trembling slightly. They are learning valuable lessons about kindness and empathy. The world is bigger than this mansion. They need to know that enough. He thundered, cutting her off. You've put ideas in their heads that could ruin them. I will not let you poison their minds. Clara stood tall, her heart pounding in her chest. With all due respect, Mr. Sinclair, keeping them locked away will do far worse. It's about time to make a choice, wealth or humanity, she said, feeling empowered by her words. He glared at her, his face reddening with fury, and for a moment, Clara thought he would strike her down with insults or worse. But before he could respond, a soft knock broke the tension, and Mrs. Sinclair entered the room, her cheeks flushed. Larry, darling, I think you should come see. What is happening outside, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Clara's pulse quickened. Was there something more going on? What now? Mr. Sinclair snapped, irritation dripping from every word. It's the twins, she hesitated, eyes darting to Clara. They've gone to the park. And they're with Clover and everyone. Clara's heart fluttered as crumbs of hope seeped into her anxious mind. Perhaps, just perhaps, the community was more powerful than she had anticipated. Let me help them, she blurted, desperation tinged with urgency in her voice. No, Mr. Sinclair shouted, but Clara was already pushing past him, driven by adrenaline. As she dashed towards the door, she could only imagine what awaited her at the park. Would it be chaos, joy, or something unexpected? Would the Sinclair couple finally see with different eyes? With each step, Clara felt the weight of the moment hanging in the air. Today could change everything or shatter it all. What would she discover when she reached the park? What choices did they all have in this game of privilege and heart? Clara's footsteps echoed in the empty halls as she raced towards the exit, her heart pounding like a drum. She could hear Jake and Emily's laughter faintly in the distance, mingled with the sounds of the community. The vibrant energy from the park called her forward, fueling her hope. Bursting through the front door, the cool air brushed against her face. She took a moment to catch her breath, scanning the street. The sun hung high, casting a warm glow over everything. Still, doubt gnawed at her. What if Mr. Sinclair was right? What if her intentions only brought destruction? Pushing aside her fears, she sprinted down the path, her mind teetering between dread and anticipation. The park loomed ahead, alive with color and life. There were families spread out on blankets, children playing tag, and laughter floating through the air like music. Clara's heart raced. She finally spotted the twins. Jake and Emily were huddled around a group of kids, their faces lit with excitement. They carried bright baskets, picnic blankets laid out like patchwork quilts on the grass. It filled Clara with warmth, her heart swelling with love and pride. They were embracing the world. She had introduced them to a world beyond the mansion. As Clara approached, she caught snippets of their conversation. Look, it's Clara! Emily exclaimed, waving her arms enthusiastically. Jake, grinning from ear to ear, joined in. Can we stay, please? We're having so much fun. Clara's breath hitched. For a quick moment, everything felt perfect. But her joy was short-lived as she noticed a group of older children eyeing the twins with skepticism. A boy, perhaps 8 or 9, stepped forward. What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be locked up in that big house? The words hung heavily in the air, causing Clara's stomach to knot with worry for the twins. Jake shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Emily. Clara took a determined step forward, her voice steady. They're just here to enjoy a picnic, just like everyone else. It's a beautiful day. The boy crossed his arms, defiance brewing in his eyes. Rich kids don't belong here. Go back where you came from. Clara felt a rush of indignation. She could already see the hurt forming on the twins' faces. They were so tender, so innocent, and didn't he deserve this confrontation? Everyone belongs here, she asserted, her heart urging her forward. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Just then, Emily stepped closer to Jake, determination shining in her innocent eyes. We want to be here, she declared, her small voice strong against the tension. The unity between the twins reminded Clara of a powerful truth. Love and kindness could cut through barriers. The older boy looked momentarily taken aback, the taunting faltering. Clara seized the moment. This park belongs to everyone, and we're all friends here, aren't we? A ripple of murmurs broke out among the group. Some kids nodded, a spark of camaraderie igniting in their eyes. Clara felt the tide turning, the foundation of something beautiful forming. But just then, she felt a chill brush against her back. Clara turned to see Mr. Sinclair storming toward them, fury etched on his face. The warmth dissipated instantly, tension slicing through the air. Clara's heart sank. What chaos would unfold now? As he opened his mouth to speak, Clara steadied herself, ready to defend the innocence of the moment. Could she stand strong before the man who wielded so much control over her and the twins? What would happen if their voices united against the weight of privilege? Clara took a deep breath, knowing that everything hinged on the choices made in this moment. Would they retreat in fear? Or would they fight together for their right to belong? The answer loomed just ahead, hanging in the balance. Mr. Sinclair's voice rang out like a crack of thunder. "What do you think you're doing?" His sharp words cut through Clara's resolve. The laughter and chatter around them faded into an uneasy silence. Clara's heart raced. She couldn't let fear dictate this moment. She stepped forward, her voice firm yet steady. "We're having a picnic, Mr. Sinclair. A chance to be together, to belong." He glowered, eyes narrowing at the twins. "You don't belong here with them. You're not like them." The disdain in his tone made her stomach churn. Clara glanced at Jake and Emily. Their wide eyes mirrored her own unease, but there was also a flicker of defiance. They weren't ready to back down. Before she could respond, Jake blurted out, "But we want to be friends." His words came out in a rush, full of innocence, yet they struck like a blunt rock against Mr. Sinclair's hard exterior. Emily chimed in, her small voice rising above the tension. "We're just kids. We want to play." Clara felt a swell of pride for their bravery, but she also felt the weight of responsibility pushing down on her. Would their courage be enough to challenge the fortress that Mr. Sinclair had built around them? Clara took a deep breath, searching for strength in those tiny faces. "Everyone deserves a chance to play, no matter where they come from," she said, each word infused with urgency. "You said it, Mr. Sinclair. This park is for everyone. Let us show them that." It was as if time stood still. Some of the other children exchanged looks, uncertain, but slowly, a few began to nod, their gazes softening. It wasn't lost on Clara that their expressions reflected the internal struggle unfolding between kindness and the cruel price of belonging. Then in a small voice from the fringes, a girl spoke up, "I think they can stay. I want to play with them." That was all it took. More voices joined in, filling the air with tentative agreement. The crowd swelled with excitement, pushing back against the negativity encircling Mr. Sinclair. Clara felt a wave of adrenaline. They could do this. They could create a new reality right here, right now. But Sinclair wasn't ready to concede easily. "This is unacceptable," he roared, but even as his voice boomed, the spirit of the park shimmered in defiance against him. He took a step back, visibly shaken by the tide shifting against him. Clara knew he wouldn't back down without a fight. "We're the same. We all want to laugh, to play, to belong." She pushed her emotion forward, feeding it to the crowd. The children surrounding the twins began to chant, "Let them stay! Let them stay!" Their voices rose in a unified plea that rang out fiercely against Sinclair's cold authority. His face colored as he struggled to maintain control, but there was a crack in his armor. Clara pressed on, seizing the moment. "You can't take away their happiness. No one deserves to be chased away just because of their home." Silence followed. The park, once buzzing with life, fell into a thick stillness, broken only by the whispers of the wind. As Mr. Sinclair stood there, fury simmering, Clara felt the collective tension thickening the air, almost tangible, vibrating with potential. What happened next could change everything. But in that charged atmosphere, Clara noticed something shift in Sinclair's eyes. Was it fear, or something deeper? She couldn't break his hold entirely, not yet. But she refused to let this moment slip away. A spark ignited inside her. If they could fight for this small joy today, maybe they could redefine a future where laughter could live freely. Her heart racing, Clara braced for a new confrontation. What would Mr. Sinclair do next? Would he raise his fist in anger? Or would he finally see the beauty of their unity? Clara knew they stood at a crossroads. Each choice mattered now. And in the heart of that park, the answer lingered at the edge of an unexpected possibility. What would it take to build a future from this moment of truth? The moment stretched like a thin wire, taut and ready to snap. Clara felt her thoughts racing, unsure of how far Sinclair would go to keep his power intact. The children around her stood firm, an army of innocents rallying for belonging, their eyes glimmering with hope. Mr. Sinclair looked around, taking in the hesitant yet growing support for Clara and the twins. The chanting grew louder, each child's voice rising in tandem, a chorus that echoed the very essence of community. He shifted his weight, cracking his knuckles, a sign of simmering rage. Enough, he barked, drawing a gasp from the children. The fear that hung in the air threatened to suffocate their spirit. Clara took a step closer, the ground beneath her seemingly pulsing with energy. She would not let that fear win. Mr. Sinclair, look around you, she said, her voice breaking slightly but holding firm. These kids want to be friends. They want to share joy, not build walls. She gestured to Jake and Emily, who stood behind her, their small hands clasped together like two tiny shields against the storm. Sinclair sneered, a confident malice etched across his features. Their joy is inappropriate. It's a fool's game. His voice dripped with contempt, but Clara realized his words carried an undercurrent of vulnerability. Maybe deep down he remembered what it felt like to belong, to be included. Fool's game? Clara echoed, her heart pounding with defiance. The bravery in her chest swelled. Every child deserves a chance to be part of something beautiful. She glanced at the crowd, a sea of hopeful faces. Isn't that why we're here? To create memories and laughter, not divide ourselves? A flicker of uncertainty crossed Sinclair's face. Clara seized at the chance for a breakthrough. Why not join us? She continued, her voice softer now, yet imbued with a quiet power. This could be a moment of change for us all. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. A few children nodded enthusiastically, while some exchanged glances filled with hope and trepidation. Sinclair's face flushed. Did he feel the weight of their collective gaze? Did he feel the pressure of change resting on his shoulders? Listen closely, Clara, he said, his voice steady but strained. This isn't just a game to me. You're challenging everything I've built. His voice drifted, almost contemplative. Clara dared to dream. Maybe this wasn't just about endurance. Maybe it could evolve into understanding. Then let that foundation shift. Clara pushed back, her voice capturing the attention of the hesitant crowd. Let us build something new. Let us show everyone that love and acceptance matter more than anything. The crowd responded, bursts of yes. And we can. Punctuated the air like fireworks, igniting a fire in Clara's chest. She felt alive, emboldened, ready to cast light into the dark corners of Sinclair's heart. But Mr. Sinclair remained still, eyeing the children and their response like a wild animal cornered. And then, just as hope soared, his posture hardened again. This isn't over. Don't think I'll let a group of children dictate my rules, he snapped, his voice once again laced with authority. Clara's spirit wavered for a moment. She had pushed hard. She had pulled together a brave force of comrades. But could they hold it in the face of one man's fury? Before anyone could react, Sinclair turned sharply, his figure cutting through the throngs like a knife through the air. You'll regret this. Enjoy your day of reckoning, he warned over his shoulder. As he stalked away, Clara felt a knot tighten in her chest. Her heart drummed with uncertainty. They had pushed boundaries, but now more than ever, the fight felt unfinished, hanging on the edge of fear and possibility. What would Mr. Sinclair do next? Could they hold on to this fragile victory? Clara took a breath and looked at Jake and Emily, their faces lit with determination. She whispered softly, "We've started something today. We can't let it end here." The weight of their courage pressed upon her, fueling the flame of hope. This wasn't just about belonging. It was about forging a future that could resist the darkness. But as the rhythms of the park resumed, Clara felt the ache of uncertainty lingering. Would this spark ignite a revolution of kindness? Or would the shadows of indifference extinguish their light? Clara stood amidst the remaining children, a chorus of uncertainty swirling around her. The park was slowly returning to normal, with laughter echoing from the nearby swings, and the serene gurgle of the fountain somewhere in the distance. Yet the weight of Sinclair's threat hung in the air like a storm cloud refusing to break. Jake tugged at her sleeve, his eyes wide with concern. Clara, do you think he really means it? What if he tries to stop us? His voice was small, trembling with the fear every child recognizes. Clara knelt, looking him squarely in the eye, holding his gaze. Yes, he might try, but we have something he doesn't, she said firmly, hoping her own uncertainty didn't seep through her words. We have each other. We have hope. Emily stood beside them, her little fists balled at her sides. And we can be brave. We won't let him win. Clara felt a rush of pride swell in her chest. These kids were more than just children under Sinclair's care. They were warriors in their own right. But even as she spoke, doubt slithered into her mind. What would it take to truly beat someone like Sinclair, who had had power for so long, who thrived on control and fear? Just then, a friend from the crowd, a boy named Leo, approached. His brown hair was tousled, and his big blue eyes sparkled with an idea. What if we plan something fun? Like a big party? Invite everyone. It'll be hard for him to say no then. Clara's heart raced. A party? Could they really turn this around? What do you mean, Leo? She asked, intrigued. We could make it a day where everyone is invited. Games, music, maybe even a bake sale? We can show Sinclair that we're stronger together. Leo's enthusiasm was contagious, and Clara felt the flicker of possibility ignite in her chest. That could work, she pondered out loud, glancing at Jake and Emily. Their eyes lit up, and soon the air buzzed with excitement. Let us call everyone, Emily exclaimed, her voice ringing with vibrant energy. We can even make posters to put around the park. Let us show Mr. Sinclair that we aren't afraid. Clara felt the warmth of camaraderie wrap around her like a comforting blanket. Okay, let us do it. First, we'll need to brainstorm some ideas and then split up the tasks. As the kids began to rally around her, brainstorming ideas for the big day, Clara felt hope surge like an unstoppable wave. They started outlining games: a treasure hunt, tag, a dance-off. The energy was electric. But beneath that buzz, Clara's thoughts darted back to Sinclair's warning. Would throwing a party be enough? What if Sinclair retaliated in a way they didn't expect? Just then, she noticed the shadows at the edge of the park. A group of their peers started drifting away. Whispers shared in the corners of their lips. Clara's heart sank. What if they turned against them? Clara, Jake whispered. What if they don't want to help? A pang of worry clutched Clara's heart. Fear can spread just as easily as hope. And she didn't want them to lose that spark. Let us show them we believe in this. We know what it means to stick together, she encouraged. Just like we did today. The children continued their chatter, planning and laughing, but as Clara looked out toward the distant swings, unease gnawed at her. They had made a bold choice. But was it reckless? As laughter echoed in the background, a dark figure reappeared at the park's edge, watching them intently. Clara's pulse quickened. With the party looming on the horizon, she realized they were about to enter a deeper battle of wills. Would Sinclair still be watching from afar, waiting for the right moment to strike? Could they really bring joy and kindness into this fight? A new challenge faced them, and Clara felt the weight of it all pressing down, filling the space between hope and fear. She had to be ready for whatever came next. As the sun began its descent behind the trees, casting elongated shadows across the playground, Clara's heart raced with anticipation and fear. Jake and Emily had split off to gather more kids, voices full of excitement, while Leo stayed by her side, scribbling ideas on a piece of cardboard with a bright red crayon. The energy in the air was palpable, but an unsettling notion kept pricking at the back of Clara's mind. Each giggle and cheer echoed, yet Sinclair's figure remained a shadowy threat looming just beyond their laughter. What if we did a cakewalk? Leo suggested, his eyes sparkling with the thrill of planning. With big cupcakes. Everyone loves cupcakes. Clara smiled, trying to match his enthusiasm. That sounds great. But do you really think it will be enough to get everyone on board? I mean, if Sinclair sees too many kids having fun together, what if he gets mad? Leo shrugged, his confidence unwavering. We just need to let them know it's safe to have fun. We're stronger together, remember? She nodded, clinging desperately to the hope his words evoked. Right. Stronger together. Look at what we've built so far. Clara scanned the park, filled with playful children sparkling under the fading sunlight. Maybe, just maybe, they could pull it off. They were all full of life, full of dreams, ideals Sinclair had yet to shatter. Suddenly, she noticed movements in the shadows again. It was a couple of older kids, their expressions unreadable. Clara clenched her fists, the worry escalating. Were they going to mock their plans? Would they leech the energy away? Just as the thought gripped her heart, she straightened up. They were bigger and older, but they weren't invincible. With a deep breath, Clara turned to Leo. Let us go see what they want. As they approached, one of the older boys, Jacob, notorious for his mischief, stepped forward. What do you think you're doing? Planning a party? You really think that LL stopped Sinclair? Clara met his gaze directly, refusing to back down. We're going to show him he can't control us. We're tired of his fear. Jacob exchanged glances with his friends, then let out a small laugh. You think a party can change anything? Sinclair doesn't he care about cupcakes or games? He has got the power to squash you like bugs. That insidious doubt crept back up, curling around Clara like a cold breath. What was she really doing? Was a party just a naive dream? But behind her, she could feel the warmth of her friends' presence, their trust glowing in their expectant faces. She could not let fear take her now. Why don't you join us? Clara challenged, her voice steady. You can be a part of the fun or be left behind in fear. Jacob's eyes flickered, and for a moment, she thought she saw a hint of vulnerability. I don't know, we'll see, he said, but there was less certainty than before. As the sun dipped even lower, casting twilight shadows, Clara felt a mixture of hope and fear. Their plan hinged on the belief that joy could conquer doubt, and it was a gamble. With their outlined plans taking shape, Clara returned to her friends and put her hands on her hips, summoning every ounce of bravery. Let us get to work on those posters. We'll make this party the biggest thing the park has ever seen. We'll show Sinclair that even the smallest voice can create the loudest noise. Cheers erupted among the kids, the laughter and spirit increasing as they bound toward the fountain, eagerly grabbing markers and paper. Clara soaked in the moment, feeling the thrill of possibility fuel her. But then, with a rush of wind, something in the air shifted. The dark figure from earlier seemed closer now, his gaze fixed on them, a sinister intent brewing. A chill ran down Clara's spine. Was that Sinclair lurking in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to ruin everything? With determination swelling in her chest, she knew they had to act quickly. The party was their chance to ignite a beacon of strength, but they had to be prepared for Sinclair's response. She looked around at her friends, their faces filled with bright hope and palpable joy. What would happen when they brought everyone together? Would Sinclair still be able to snuff out their light? In that moment, Clara understood. They were on the brink of something monumental. And as night approached, she felt the stakes rise. The battle for joy and freedom was just beginning, and Sinclair wouldn't go down without a fight. The energy around Clara crackled like static in the air. Excitement coursed through the children as they put their plans into action. Laughter mingled with the faint rustle of leaves, but Clara could feel the tension beneath the surface. Sinclair wouldn't just sit back and let them have their fun. She could sense it. The way he lingered in the shadows felt like a storm cloud ready to unleash chaos. Okay, Clara exclaimed, trying to excite the crowd as they gathered around the fountain. Let us get those posters made. We need to spread the word. With each stroke of the marker, Clara felt that familiar rush of adrenaline. It was invigorating. Bright colors splashed across the cardboard as the kids wrote phrases like "Joy is our strength," and "Sinclair can't take our fun." The words echoed off the fountain, turning into a battle. As they worked, Jake sprinted back, panting slightly. Clara, we need more kids. Emily and I are spreading the word. Can you take care of the posters? Absolutely, Clara replied, firing up her friends with a few enthusiastic hand claps. Each clap rang out like a signal, drawing in even more little hands eager to contribute. But then came the shadows filled with whispers, laughter twisted into taunts. Clara glanced up, and her heart sank. It was Jacob and his crew, now flanked by a couple of other older kids. Their faces were lit with mischief, merging into the encroaching dusk like phantoms. Look at them. You really think you can change anything with crayons and cupcakes? Jacob called out, his derisive laugh cutting through the air. Clara's mind raced. They could lose everything if they let him get to them. We're not just crayons and cupcakes. This is about being together and standing up to bullies. Jacob stepped closer, leaning in with a smirk. And what if Sinclair does show up? What then? You think a bunch of kids can outsmart him? That familiar, ugly doubt crept in again, a paralyzing fear that made Clara's eyes widen. Did they have enough power? But deep inside, she felt a flicker emanate from her chest. Her friends around her were counting on her. She took a deep breath, forcing her voice to remain steady. We won't be alone. If Sinclair comes, he'll face all of us. But if we don't try, he's already won. For a brief moment, Jacob's bravado faltered. His friends exchanged uncertain glances. Clara seized that glimmer of hesitation. Join us if you want. Fear will keep you from happiness. And we want everyone to join our celebration. Another child, wide-eyed and hopeful, piped up, yeah, we can have fun together. That voice hit like a bell of resolve. And Clara felt it ripple through the crowd, strengthening their collective spirit, that it infused them with energy. They returned to making posters, shoving stickers and glitter onto the cardboard with newfound fervor. The more they cheered each other on, the more they locked arms to face the looming threat. Just as the last rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, illuminating the park in a golden hue, a low growl echoed from the depths of the woodlands. Clara's heart pounded wildly. Sinclair was closer than ever, his dark presence swallowing the last of the light. The unshakable belief they had built began to feel fragile. Guys, we have to be ready, Clara said, her voice quivering slightly. No one should feel alone when he comes. She looked into the faces of her friends, still bursting with hope despite the darkening shadows. Their resolve solidified her heart. But the question lingered painfully. Would it be enough to hold the line against Sinclair's storm? And just then, a rustle in the bushes caught everyone's attention. They turned slowly, breathless, dreading what was on the other side. What unexpected twist awaited them just beyond the veil of night? As the rustling subsided, Clara's pulse quickened. She shifted her weight, the tension thrumming in the air. The kids around her, eyes wide open and anxiously darting, leaned closer, their breaths almost inaudible. The bushes parted, and from behind the greenery stepped not the looming figure of Mr. Sinclair, but a group of local children, Evelyn, Marcus, and a few others Clara recognized from the neighborhood. They held balloons and colorful party hats, grinning from ear to ear. Surprise! They shouted in unison, their faces radiant with excitement. Clara's heart soared, relief washing over her like a warm wave. Laughter erupted, blossoming in defiance against the dark, curling shadows that had threatened to suffocate them all. You came, she exclaimed, rushing forward to embrace Evelyn, who was as bubbly as ever. Of course. We heard you're throwing a big party. We wanted to help. Evelyn exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. We brought snacks and decorations. The gathered kids buzzed with energy, enveloped in a blanket of collective hope. Even Jake and Emily joined in, their cheeks glowing as they welcomed their new friends. Clara felt her worries lifting, the overhang of fear dissipating like clouds parting for the sun. Let us decorate. Jacob murmured, quieter now, his bravado waning as the unity of the group grew. He turned toward the others, glimmers of intrigue replacing mockery. I guess a party could be fun. Clara turned to him, warmth flickering in her heart. It can be a turning point. We're showing everyone the strength of kindness. The enthusiasm spread like wildfire, igniting their spirits anew. Posters were held high as Clara navigated the whirlpool of ideas and laughter, each child contributing their voice to the narrative they were weaving together. With every balloon that soared, Clara reflected on the power of community and the potential for change. They were more than just kids in a park. They were budding torchbearers rallying against the darkness that sometimes overshadowed their lives. Today, they were making their own rules. As dusk turned to evening, the park glittered with strings of lights and swirls of laughter, transforming from mere playground to a festival of unity and joy. The fear that once gripped Clara's heart faded, replaced by an overwhelming sense of pride in what they were building together. In the distance, a shadow crept closer. Clara caught a quick glimpse of Mr. Sinclair's silhouette edging toward the park, tense and watchful. But his energy felt different now, as if the collective heart of the children shone like a lighthouse against a stormy sea. Ready? Clara whispered as she took a deep breath, her heart pounding with anticipation. Always, Jake replied, fists raised high. As Sinclair approached, Clara felt the surge of defiance welling inside her once again. They wouldn't be brushed aside like small sparks relegated to the corners. Instead, those tiny flames were binding together, forming an inferno of possibility. Mr. Sinclair, Clara called out, her voice ringing clear amidst cheers. You're here. Join us for the party. Everyone deserves a chance to be a part of something amazing, don't you think? For a moment, shock held Sinclair in place. Clara watched as his expression flickered between confusion and anger, then softened ever so slightly. He probably expected rebellion, defiance, even tears, but here was Clara, bold and stubborn, offering an olive branch. The breaths of the gathered children hung in the air like cotton candy, fragile yet hopeful. Sinclair's stern gaze scanned the group, seeking weakness, but Clara remained resolute, her heart pounding with the rhythm of change. Finally, his facade crumbled. Children, he began, hesitating. You should really be at home. This is no place for what? Clara challenged, lifting her chin defiantly. For laughter and friendship? For kindness? In that charged moment, the park felt alive, charged with the simple yet powerful truth they all shared. Was it enough? Or would he retreat back into the shadows and confinement of wealth and privilege? Finally, something shifted in Sinclair's hardened demeanor. As small faces looked up at him, a hint of confusion softened his steely gaze. I suppose, he murmured, his voice cracking slightly. And in that breath, the tide began to turn as a soft whisper of acceptance crept into his heart. The children joined in a chorus of cheers, their joy washing over him like waves, transforming the tension into an embrace of warmth. Let us all belong here, Clara pleaded, her heart pounding with hope. And with that, watching Sinclair finally unclench his fists, the world breathed in unison with palpable possibility. Would he finally lay his shield down and embrace the spirit of the community? For Clara and the twins, the battle that had felt so heavy to bear now glimmered with the promise of renewal and connection. As they rose above the barriers, laughter rang out and the colorful lights illuminated the night, standing proudly as symbols of transformative joy. Among each other, these joyful sparks ignited something real and lasting, an undeniable truth that kindness could indeed conquer fear. And in that powerful moment, under the stars twinkling like promises, they decided together this was just the beginning. Their stories of change and compassion were just getting started. So, take a moment and reflect on the journey of love, the journey they created together. Make that leap into your own life, too. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment how this ending felt for you, how it resonated in your heart. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.